Hello, it's Rebecca Green.
And Jarrett Green. We are a husband and wife team. This is our first video on this channel, and we are so excited to offer some reactions to the great teachings of Swami Mukundananda and anything else that we can offer along the way.
Yes, let's get started.
Let's do this. This video is about stopping judging others in life. Let's see what Swami Mukundananda says.
Judging others is most inappropriate. When we do so in human interactions, we create presumptions and fit people into our mental stereotypes without realizing they may have a story that we do not know about. One lady went to the airport. She reached her gate, and since there was still a lot of time left for the flight to take off, she went and purchased a book to read and a packet of cookies to eat. She sat down in the waiting area, opened the cookie packet and placed it by the side, and began reading her book. By the side was a man who was reading a magazine. Now, she placed a hand into the cookie packet and picked up a cookie to munch it, and her neighbor also placed his hand and lifted a cookie from her packet and put it in his mouth. She was aghast. What is the world coming to? Such uncivilized, uncouth behavior.
Definitely time to call TSA.
He could have asked me. I wouldn't have hesitated sharing my cookie with him. But even without asking, he's lifted it up. So a little annoyed, she picked up another cookie and began eating. Not to be outdone, the man also picked up a second cookie. This went on and on until the last cookie was remaining in the packet and her temperature had crossed 100 degrees centigrade by now. The man did something even worse. He picked up the last cookie, split it in two, smiled and placed half in her hand, and took the packet and left. That lady said, "This is the end of civilization. Can you not expect a little decent behavior from fellow passengers?" And then she looked down and discovered her own cookie packet was still there with all the cookies untouched. Unknowingly, she had been taking the other person's cookie. How wrong it was for her to judge him. Remember, whenever we make judgments, we are always making a mistake. It is not for us to judge, but for God. The other person's story, God alone knows. I remember when I was...
This reminds me of the story you just told me about Chipotle.
So this is amazing because this incredible anecdote that expounds upon an ancient teaching is exactly what I went through the other day, a couple days ago. I was with my 2-year-old daughter and we picked up some Chipotle. And in the Chipotle that we go to, we live in Topanga, that's near Los Angeles, California. And we went to Chipotle and one of the doors was locked and the other one was open. But the restaurant was open. I went to the door and it was locked. And this woman who was sitting down eating her meal begrudgingly stood up and came over and opened the door. But she wasn't really happy about doing it. And I walked in with my daughter, ordered my food, and I left from the same door. When I left, this woman was still there and she followed me out. And she said, "Excuse me, lady, just so you know, you're not supposed to come in through this door. You have to go around next time." She was very upset about it. So I said, "Okay, thank you." And I might have said the thank you in a little bit of an annoyed tone. I was with my daughter at Chipotle. It was hot. And I was like, "Okay, thank you." Like, okay. And this is how she responded. "You're welcome!" With this like really obnoxious face and voice and tone. I mean, it wasn't a genuine "you're welcome." And it was so icky, and it left an icky feeling on my heart and in my body. And I went into my car with my daughter, who was oblivious because she's 2, and we sat down in the car, and I was feeling massive amounts of judgment towards her. What a toxic, icky, horrible woman. How dare she speak to me that way? I don't deserve that. I didn't do anything. What I was thinking. And then I remembered Swamiji's teachings. I remembered the notion that we don't know what's going on in people's heads and hearts. And I also said, listen, I'm making something up. Maybe this woman is eating food, waiting to get COVID results for a loved one, and she's really stressed, and she's taking that out on me. I don't know her story. So I tried before I drove away in the car to just say, let me not judge her. Let me have compassion and love towards her. I tried. It was hard, but I worked on it, remembering the teachings and Swamiji, and that's what happened the other day, and it directly relates to this.
It's a beautiful example. It's a beautiful example because we're all subjected to those types of intense behaviors, and our mind immediately judges.
Yeah.
When I was in middle school, there was this one student whose behavior was so quirky that he was the butt of jokes of all my classmates. And I must admit getting irritated myself in the way he spoke and the way he walked and talked, until one day I sat down and heard his story, probably for the first time in our class. I came to know that his mother had died when he was just a couple of months old. His stepmother had raised him. His father was barely educated, and they were living in one of the poorest parts of the city. After that, I no longer felt irritated at what he did. Rather, I felt pity, compassion, understanding. So remember, before we rush into judgments, the other person may have a story of which we know nothing. That is why it is said, judge not, lest you be judged.
That also really resonates with me, and it reminds me of a little conflict we had a couple days ago.
We never have conflict.
Never, ever, ever. Obviously, as a married couple, no conflict. But it was involving our daughter, and I was trying to help our little toddler, and the way you tried to give a proposed solution irritated me, and I immediately judged and said, what you're doing right now is not serving me, and I tried to express consciously, but the truth is I was judging you. And you felt that judgment, and you received it wonderfully, my amazing wife, and then said, but I just want to acknowledge that you seem to do the exact same thing to me 4 minutes ago, and then you pointed it out. And I had no awareness that I had done the same thing to you just a few minutes before that you were doing to me, and I was very irritated and judgmental about you with no awareness that my own behavior was identical. And that last line and the biblical reference just really opens that up for me, and I try in those moments when I fail to remember Swamiji's words, which is, it's easy to judge others. But we're usually very blind at judging ourselves, noticing our own errors and imperfections. And I know that's been a thing for me. So I try whenever, and I clearly failed yesterday or whenever that was, a couple days ago, that when I'm feeling judgment towards you, towards anyone, try to think, I bet I've done something very similar to this very recently. And then it shifts the awareness back to myself, my own sadhana, my own behavior. So it's an ongoing process, and as we can see, constantly forgetting to do it.
Works in progress.
Works in progress.
Thanks for watching. We hope to see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.